Good afternoon. I'm Teacher on the Radio from 88.5 FM WTTU The Nest. We're an OG college radio station in Cookeville, Tennessee, and I'm pre-recording part of my show for Saturday, February the 1st for Bridget's Day, for the midpoint between winter and spring. I've got a very special guest with me today. Coming from North Carolina, we've got Flamy Grant in the studio. Hey, Flamy.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I was immediately taken when I learned your name because you took your name from a Christian contemporary singer-songwriter of great fame and notoriety. If were growing up in the 80s and 90s and we were in church, we knew who Amy Grant was. Was it easy to come up with this nickname for your singer-songwriter, or was it a long time coming to become Flamy?
Oh, I think both and. I mean, the actual name really just came in a moment of watching RuPaul's Drag Race with my husband, and we were just bantering about names, and we both laughed at it. And I literally just went and saved the handle that night on Instagram. You know, just grabbed Flamy Grant, and had no idea what I would be doing with it. But yes, then the journey to actually figuring out.
Right. So that could have been a drag name, and you're lip syncing Amy Grant songs at the club, right? So
Sure.
you're writing original songs now under this name, and you're climbing the Christian contemporary charts as an out queer spiritual person. I mean, I never even would have thunk it. I wouldn't have thunk it in 1995, much less 2025. Tell us a little bit about how we got here. I've known about you for about 3 years, and it seems like you're kind of becoming a bit of an it performer in the indie scene and also in the Christian progressive scene. I think you're doing a lot of gigs in churches and the like. So tell us a little bit about your background and how we got to this wonderful moment that you're touring with Jennifer Knapp in a couple days.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I've always been a songwriter. I've always made music, and I've always been involved in the church. Like those have been constants in my life. I grew up very fundamentalist evangelical in the Bible Belt. I wrote my first song when I was 9 years old, and just kind of been that's been my life. But also, I'm queer, and so that's I've been on a very long, slow journey. Figuring that out for myself. Coming out was most of my 20s, and I did everything from conversion therapy to just kind of ignoring it, to hoping it goes away, to saying, well, I'm gay, but I'll be single and celibate, all in an effort to kind of appease and fit into the culture that I came up in, which was this fundamentalist high demand religion, evangelicalism in America. And so, yeah, for me, it all clicked. It really all clicked when Flamy came around. When I discovered this art form, not I discovered, really, when the art form discovered me, because the art form has been around for a little minute, So when drag and I got together, is really when it all clicked, and I started to recognize that it was, for me, it just started as inner child work on myself. I just was, having fun painting my face and maybe singing a song here and there. But really, it was just for me. It was, I did it during pandemic. The early days of pandemic is when I started doing drag sincerely. And from there, it's just kind of been a snowball rolling downhill that's picked up a speed as it goes. And I think I've stumbled into more of it than I have been intentional about, even the name, even Flamy Grant, was really just kind of a funny thing that my husband and I said one night. And then, figuring out that I have something to say to people, especially people who come from similar backgrounds with oppressive religion, people who are queer, come up in the church, and also folks who aren't queer. I get folks all the time at my shows who are like, I know I'm not I'm a straight white man, and I know I'm not your target audience, but your songs speak to me. And so it's been it's been a wild journey over the past, about 5 years now. And I'm really loving it.
So you have 2 full-length albums. You've
I do.
gotten massive critical acclaim. You've toured constantly since Bible Belt Baby dropped, and you did some live streams around that time. But the songs are genuinely joyful. They're definitely, some of them are pretty critical of the world in which we live, but they haven't lost that spark or that charm or that sense of joy that we got when we were doing Kumbaya, Pass It On, Created Me a Clean Heart, Oh Lord, very traditional and songs like that. Now, so tell me, why not just throw out the baby with the bath? I mean, why not? You're not mocking religion. You are being faithful to the God of your understanding. Why didn't you just kind of throw it all out, or be more, I don't know, more blasphemous? It seems like you could be at a drag bar, but you could also be up there with Bishop Buddy at the Episcopal Cathedral. Like, so did you make a conscious decision that the content of these albums would be so embraced by Christians? I mean, I think that has been your experience, right? Haven't you been like largely embraced by the progressive church?
Yeah, progressive faith, people of faith. Yeah, absolutely. I've played, over 50 churches in the past year. Churches I had no idea existed. I didn't know there were like cool Baptist churches. I've played several Baptist churches over the past year, and that's been amazing for me as someone from the South to realize and recognize that there are so many places and communities in this country that are doing work to create really safe spaces for queer folks to empower us, invite us into these traditions. And that's the thing. I think really that's really what it comes down to for me, is that I get told by critics sometimes, like, oh, get out of our space, or you don't, like, quit mocking my God, or that kind of thing. And I'm like, y'all don't even know, like, I'm a product of your world. Like, I came up, I know it. I probably know it better than most of the people who are critiquing me, because I was not just a church goer. I was a church maker. I was a worship leader for 22 years. I was a church planter. This was my life. I was deeply committed to the faith that I inherited, that I was raised in. And obviously I've been on a journey of, figuring it out, what faith does look like for me, as someone who is queer and wants to live a fully embodied life, because you can't do that in evangelicalism. Embodiment is the antithesis of evangelicalism, it turns out. But nonetheless, yeah, the question about whether it was intentional or not is interesting. I think I've thrown a lot of spaghetti at the wall and seen what works and what doesn't. And I definitely have my moments that I think would be considered much more blasphemous in traditional circles. I mean, to some people, like, just the very act of drag is blasphemy. So that's really all I have to do for some folks to just write me off. But I have a good bit of cheeky fun with it as well. Like, on my records, in my shows, I have a solo cabaret show that I do that's more adult oriented and dives into more of the hypocrisy of the faith that I see. But yeah, when you mention the joy and kind of reclaiming pieces of the practice of Christianity for people like me, that's an important part of it for me. It's I feel like I feel like there was so much potential in the religion that I was brought up in for it to have done good in the world and for it to have done good in my life. I think the potential was there, and I think it was very badly mismanaged by a whole system of people who've just turned evangelicalism in particular into a tool for power. It's purely that's all it is anymore. Evangelicalism is just it's fully in bed with the far right, and it's just a tool to get votes. And so it's not Christianity anymore. It's not at all. It has nothing to do with the Christ, the person that it's named after. So for me, it is about kind of reclaiming the joy in it, making sure that there is space for folks who want to be in it. I certainly am not a evangelist. I'm not out here trying to save souls. I'm not trying to tell people that there is only one way to heaven. That's not my path. That's not my way. But for those who, like me, were raised in it, and it's in our bones, and just kind of part of our cultural heritage, yeah, we shouldn't have to give up everything that was dear and near to us as kids, just in order to have a spiritual life as adults. So yeah, that's all part of it for me.
This is Teacher on the Radio. My guest this day is Flamy Grant. Flamy Grant is a performing artist with 2 wonderful albums out. Their brand new album from 2024 is called Church. They are touring behind this album right now, and they're going to be supporting the great Jennifer Knapp. And this show will be in a church, folks. It will be also a free concert. That's in $0. So you just need to get there and find a place to park. It's at Benton Chapel, which is on 21st Avenue in the heart of Midtown Nashville, Tennessee. It's going to be on Thursday, February the 6th at 7 p.m. I believe it is a large venue, but I still am going to get there early because I want to get a good seat because I know she's going to be wearing something fabulous, and I want to get some good pictures of your fabulous outfit, as I did at the Basement East when you opened up for Adim's record release last spring, which is the last time I saw you. All right, we're going to play one of your songs on the radio version of this right now, and then we'll come back and let's talk some more about your music. Hey, this is Teacher on the Radio. You're listening to 88.5 FM, a pre-recorded segment with our guest today, Flamy Grant. Flamy Grant's going to be in Nashville next Thursday, February the 6th at 7 p.m. at the Benton Chapel on the campus of Vanderbilt University in the Vanderbilt Divinity School. You have an amazing new record out called Church. You have a song called Last Days that I really like because it questions the whole thing. And I certainly have felt it recently that it was the last days. A great song with the amazing Chris Matthews called Old Religion, a song called Do It for a Song. You've got this great catalog in addition to a follow-up to the Bible Belt Baby, which was your big debut that kind of puts you out there into the world of independent folk music, and to this wild movement that is an intersection of faith and spirituality. Let's talk about this wonderful new album, Church, that you've just released. Do It for a Song, you mentioned to me, is a song that you're really excited about right now. I've decided to call today's episode Do It for a Song. I always title my episode after one of the artists or songs I'm playing. Tell us about this one or some of the other tracks on Church, and maybe how you grew from the first album. Like, this one feels really impactful. Not that the first one wasn't, but maybe just tell us a little bit about the making and the producing of Church as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the difference you're hearing, I think, is the fact that the first record, well, I think there's a couple factors. The first record was largely an accident. I set out to record a few songs, like acoustic songs, like that's all I was going to do. And then it just ballooned into a record. And we ended up pulling songs from my past because I hadn't actually written 10 songs as Flamy yet. So, and then we recorded that album in our house. I lived in San Diego with another couple. My husband and I lived with another couple, and he was my music producer, our friends. And so we just did it in pandemic in our closet in the house in the basement. And so it was very it was just grassroots and makeshift and figuring it out as we went. And then with Church, with the new record, I crowdfunded it. We had some great funding going in from an amazing group of people who came together around that album on Kickstarter. We rented a Nashville studio for a week. We hired Nashville musicians. The feel is very different because I think for those reasons. It's also Church. I wrote that record all in one, kind of 3-month period of thinking about, what do I want to say? Like, I have a chance now to craft a full record from cover to cover, write 10 new songs, and what do I want those songs to say? So there was a lot more intention, I think, that went into Church. I love Bible Belt Baby. I love that first record so much. It's magic to me that it even happened, and it was really cool to get to make a record this way as well. So yeah, Do It for the Song it's just the first track on the record, and it's the kind of the single I'm promoting right now. But I wrote it really in response to the community that I've been I've been involved in since starting this work full time. I got involved in the Folk Alliance International Conference, which also has like regional conferences. That is like just those are my favorite events, to get together with other songwriters and people in the folk industry, in the independent music world, and just be able to spend time together sharing songs and making friends, really. And I've just been so inspired by seeing the commitment that people have to the craft of songwriting. And I realized that that's been the thing for me that's carried me through my whole life. I wrote my song when I was first song when I was 9 years old, and I've never stopped. Drag is newer, like I've done that for about 5 years, but songwriting has been part of my life since I was a kid. So I really wanted to just kick off the record with this anthem of like, this is what I'm doing it for, y'all. Like it's about this craft of music. It's about the way music has saved me, and the gift that I want to hopefully give to other people by creating my own music.
My guest is Flamy Grant, and it is an incredible record. I'm just realizing now just how many unbelievably great songs are on this. At the show at the Basement East, when you were supporting our mutual friend Adeem the artist on their album release party, you shared that song, Leslie Jordan. I mean, what an homage. Did you have a chance to meet? I think you told us that night. I don't remember. Did you meet Leslie Jordan?
I never got a chance to meet Leslie Jordan, sadly, no. But what's been really cool about that song is that it has made its way into some real life friends of Leslie. He was such an inspiration to me. I just loved that man. He was one of the first visual representations of queerness that I saw in media, and he just spoke to me so much through his music, his books, the work he did on stage and on screen. And actually Del Shores, who wrote and directed Sordid Lives, and was a collaborator of Leslie's in a lot of different projects and in life. I heard the song. It made its way to Del, and so Del reached out and sent some lovely messages, and it's just been really nice to know that that even though I never got the chance to meet Leslie in person, like the song has made its way into his world, and people there are appreciative of it. So it's just an homage. It's an homage to a man that meant a lot to me.
My guest is Flamy Grant. This is Teacher on the Radio on 88.5 FM. Please go out if you are a person that streams music. You can find church wherever you stream music. If you're up for a live music experience here as we're getting out of the most chilly January into maybe a slightly friendlier February, Thursday, the 6th of February at Benton Chapel on the campus of Vanderbilt University, right in Midtown, Nashville, Tennessee. It's be about an hour drive for me. For some of you, it'll be a lot closer. What about working with Chris Matthews on this song? I want to ask, it is one of the other songs that really just got under my skin. And I think it was because of the way you sort of flipped the script in that song, Old Religion. And Chris is such a great voice, shares so many of your a queer progressive voice, and also very committed to the folk. I love what you said about the folk music scene being a community and not being competitive.
Yeah.
Do you sing that one when you play in a church? When you did a church?
Oh yeah.
Recently? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. For me, Old Religion is that song that is just like that's what I was talking about earlier, like the potential of the faith. I feel like the faith that I was raised in had the potential to do so much great in the world. And it sadly, at least the evangelical version of it has fallen flat on its face. But it harkens back to some of the tenets that I was initially raised with. It's based on the Bible verse Micah 6:8, which is, what does God ask of you but to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God? And I'm like, those are great tenets. Why can't we have a faith built on those tenets? So as far as bringing Chris Matthews into that, I'm so lucky that Chris was available and said yes. She came to the studio when we were in Nashville last March and just laid down that vocal like the professional that she is. And we've gotten to tour together quite a bit now. We've done a Christmas series together the past 2 years. Chris is just one of those humans who is the real deal, changing the world. And I'm just honored to be associated with her. She's the best.
I hope people will have a chance to see you next Thursday, or to go out and get your record wherever they get their music. What is your last bit of advice to me, to yourself, to all of our listeners today about surviving what we're going through right now, and not letting it roll us under and chase us back into closets, metaphorical and real? What are we going to do in the coming days as artists and as activists to get through what's next?
Yeah, we're going to have each other's backs. We're going to save each other like we always have. No government has ever saved us. We save ourselves. And that's what we're going to do. And most importantly, I think we're not going to get distracted. because that is the name of the game when it comes to this administration and the far right-wing zealots out there. They want us to be distracted from the actual work of community building and being there for each other. And there's going to be so many executive orders and pieces of legislation and just, forgive the language, but trumped up nonsense that gets really blown out of proportion by both the administration, but also the media that wants us to click on their articles and watch their cable news. So as much as you can, give up state controlled media, give up media that is controlled by billionaires, and let's focus on the task at hand, which is our own local communities supporting each other, being there for each other.
That was beautiful. Everyone, Flamy Grant, go get their record, go see them live. And thank you so much for giving me some of your time today between your many, many gigs. This is Teacher on the Radio, 88.5 FM, a pre-recorded segment we're making on January the 28th to broadcast today on February the 1st, 2025. The wheel is turning and spring is coming. The light is coming back. Thank you, Flamy.
Thank you so much for having me.